back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is the unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com. It has been a long and interesting week as the portal has opened, and we have been scrambling. Big shows all throughout the week. On Monday, we had the portal show on YouTube, and then obviously the recruiting report. So we've had a lot of stuff out there, but now it's time for the entire gang to gather. Josh McQuistion, Eddie Radosevich, Bob Przybylo. As we start things off here, I'm Carey Murdoch, and there's been a lot of things to talk about in the office. I want to get to when George gets here, but it's been fun. I mean, I'll say that it's. I think throwing in some basketball, and we're going to get to that early because Bob's joining us at the start. Basketball last night, obviously I think a lot of people, if they weren't paying attention to OU basketball, they will be now after just dismantling a 7-1 Providence team. I'll say this, you guys were at the game. It was very confusing on the broadcast because Providence's, their mascot is like, I don't know if that's like a Puritan or
he's a friar.
Yeah, he's a friar.
Is a friar?
Yeah,
friar.
But it was like they kept doing the friar and the OU logo together, and I thought, oh, is this like a special about OU going to Haiti and helping people? Like it looked like it was some kind of mission, like mission to Burma. I mean, I don't know what it was, but it looked like it looked like some kind of community service kind of thing. And every time it came, I was like, oh, that's a basketball game. So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Because you were at the game.
I know.
But everyone else out there watching it on ESPNU last night knows exactly
I
what
just
I'm
know
talking
they
about.
were mad that they weren't
broadcast,
there. Yes, they
which
were
is
mad
bullshit.
that they weren't there.
Chad McKee was on remote broadcast last night?
It wasn't Chad McKee.
Was that not Chad McKee?
No.
ESPN,
ESPN
wouldn't be
broadcast.
Chad. Yeah.
I guess I just didn't pay attention. Well, I was in the control room, so I didn't really have the audio on all the time. I didn't really, to be honest with you, I thought the crowd was great sounding last night on television.
Yeah, it was a really good crowd.
It wasn't a big crowd, but they made some noise.
On OU standards for a Tuesday night tip-off at 6 o'clock?
It wasn't big at 6. By 6:30, it was pretty packed.
Yeah, it was really good. And, I think that this is starting to become a team that, Bob, we've talked about quite a bit that, they kind of deserve to have a little bit of support. I think it's a fun club. They are playing a really fun brand of basketball to watch by college basketball standards. And you have some guys that, who knows? J.V. McCollum's starting to turn into a guy with a little bit of a national presence.
Yeah, and last night was a perfect example of you don't need all 8 guys to be great. You just need at least some of them. And Los and Javian, they carried the day time and time again. Not just with the scoring, but those guys had 19 of the 40 boards. You get that from your point guards. Whatever you're instilling in them in practice is like, this is what's going to be a key to victory. When you see it coming through in a game like that, like the coach has the pulse of this team, at least through the first, 4 weeks of the season.
I thought the first 10 minutes about as well as they've played all year. Well, I guess maybe the first 8 minutes, yes. Forcing the 5 turnovers in the first 4, jumping out to the 12-point lead. But I was almost more impressed by the way that they responded, when they did get down 40-39 and then they go back on that run. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it kind of started with, it doesn't show up in the box score necessarily, but it was an offensive board, John Hughley, and then he goes to the foul line, gets 2, and then it was like, okay, they got recentered, back on track. And I thought it was really impressive. I thought it was impressive the way that Ortega had a pretty frustrating night, it seemed like. He got a lot of nicky-knack kind of fouls.
Ticky-tack.
Ticky-tack. What did I say?
Nicky-knack.
Nicky-knack.
That's a dangerous word to say. But, yeah, I thought Ortega, a little bit of growth there in his sophomore season.
I have a question. Is Javian McCollum, is he like a super fan of like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? Because he tries to play like him. I mean, he has the step back
Allen
game.
Iverson.
Oh my God, I heard that. I watched the post game last night. Yeah, I would say to me, wearing number 2, he's got a headband on. It's like, I just feel like he's out there.
Love the headband look.
I just feel like he's out there like maybe he's at Oklahoma. Because he loves Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and he wanted to come play where he plays.
Could be possible. I love
really
the guy,
good,
though. He's really good.
His ability to keep his speed at this level has been very, just a surprise compared to what we saw through the first 2 years where guys hit the portal, came to OU, like, well, if they're that same type of player, they're going to be really good. And then they weren't.
He's the best guy at creating his own shot since who?
Austin Reeves?
Yeah, he was kind of a bull in a china shop.
He was, yeah. But he could create something for himself.
But, I mean, he could create separation, like,
yes.
You know.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. Separation,
the step-back stuff,
yeah.
and, I mean, he did have a 3, and he ended up 3 of 7, I think, from 3 last night.
Yeah, he had a 3 that we thought was a 3, turned into a 2. When that step back.
Had a foot on the line.
Yes, that step back was turned into a 2.
But, so, I mean, essentially, I mean, you know, and this team, like you said, I mean, athletic, I mean, it's just the way that you could tell Providence was not prepared for how athletic they were last night at the start of the game. I mean, when it got out to whatever it was, 13-0, they kept turning the ball over. Oklahoma's hands were very active, and they could not run an offense against that defense that they were facing.
Yeah, and it's funny because OU wasn't all that sharp in that department either. 15 turnovers, but 33-11 run to end the game, final 15 minutes, and a lot of that was because of the defense. They recognized they needed to get back to who they were during the first half, and they did a tremendous job.
I think moving forward, and we'll see here coming up against Arkansas on Saturday, and, you know, obviously you got Armando Bacot coming up in North Carolina 2 weeks from today. But I still think that there's
still there.
Yeah.
Yes. Money.
There's still some question marks about execution offensively in the half court, as well as I think that, you know, as good as John Hughley and Sam Goodwin have been, or Godwin, God, they're gonna hurt inside when they play somebody really, really good.
And that was a wake up call, I thought, for Hughley. Odoro's not like a big name, but he played like John does, and it took a while for John didn't have that type of game that he's had where he's just been a bully and he's gotten 10, 12 points just because he's bigger and stronger than the other guy that's in the post with him. That was a kind of okay, I got to be better when I'm going against someone like Bacot here in a couple weeks.
I kind of find Rivaldo Suarez and Latrey Dartard to be two really big pieces for this team. Once you get into conference play, too, that if they can just be consistent, they don't have to tear up a box score, do little things. This team, I can't remember the last time OU had a team that could create second chance opportunities for themselves. And a lot of their run last night came off of offensive rebounds and just being in the right spot on the defensive end that would lead into transition buckets. One thing that I don't think that I've ever seen happen last night in a college basketball game, they didn't have an under 4 timeout.
No under 4
just
media
went
timeout.
Straight through it. And they were gassed.
They were
walking into the
tired
locker
legs
room.
there.
It's crazy.
Now, because Providence and OU had both used their use it or lose it timeout. I know people are like, why don't they call timeout? Well, you want 3 timeouts going into the second half, and both teams had called it, and we just never got to it. We were whistle happy initially.
They called everything at the beginning of the game.
And then it just went away.
And then they called nothing at the end of the first half, and they let them play in the second half even, too.
Yep.
By the way, someone else apparently is shopping for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in Oklahoma City.
Kim Kardashian.
Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, he represents them now.
As doing what?
Oh, her brand or whatever, like the clothing line.
She has like a men's clothing line?
I don't know if it's a clothing line as much as it is. It was that photo shoot was for something that he was in, Variety or Vanity, one of the magazines. They did a big photo shoot in Oklahoma City.
This is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander by Kim Kardashian. Was she taking the photos?
No. I don't think that Kim came through OKC.
Well, maybe if she's...
Yeah,
they
debuted that a couple weeks ago. She did like an interview with them. He sat down with her and answered a bunch of bullshit questions. It's kind of weird.
I'm sure it was a hard-hitting interview.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing to do before a game?
Would you like to date me for a while?
Well, he fits into her demo for sure.
Please, SGA, stay away from Kim. Please, for all of us.
Big game for the
We don't
Thunder.
need that around. All right, so moving on, you said Arkansas coming up Saturday. Be okay.
Very excited about.
They are playing very well. They beat Duke.
They're 6-3, so you don't know what the heck you're getting from Arkansas.
Yeah, they've been up and down. Their net rating as of last week was like 65 or something. But after they beat Duke, they are starting to play a little bit better. I think just from watching them during Feast Week and then the Duke game, turnovers have been a big issue for them as
They're
of late.
Underachieving. If they're not focused, they're gonna get beat. But I mean, they've obviously played well against OU in that game last year.
Is there an update on Brazil? He turned his ankle on Tuesday night against Furman with like 3 minutes left, so I didn't know if he was going to be available or not.
Yeah, and there's
on Saturday.
questions about Monk.
How
too,
much
so
are you
it's just-
gambling, really? We have to have a talk. Like,
Why?
you know everything there
I
is to
love
know about
college
every
basketball.
player.
I love college
You
basketball.
do. You do. I
I
don't
love
deny
college
that.
basketball.
But you know so much. Like, it's scary because I just worry you're getting a little too deep into this.
No, I literally I didn't even bet on the game. I was watching Arkansas and
I
Furman
don't
the
believe
other
that
night.
for a second.
Arkansas did
There
cover.
was an injury he didn't like, so he stayed away from the line.
He wasn't betting on that game, but he was just getting valuable information for the parlay. He needs to
I was
decide.
happy Eddie was watching the Cowboys with me. I didn't know who was watching.
One of
that.
the worst
Technicals
technicals
of
in the
all
history
time.
of college basketball
Remember
last
Oklahoma
night.
State Cowboys?
Yes. OSU's down 3.
You need to see it.
OSU's down 3. Javon Small comes down. He gets blocked. And the guy turns to the bench. They're down by the OSU bench, obviously. And he turns to his own bench, the Southern Illinois
Right.
guy does, and like yells.
He
like,
purposely
'cause
doesn't do it to Small or
he
to the
blocked
Cowboys.
it. Like there was 11
Yes.
seconds left in the game. Massive play. And the ref teed him up.
Heat him up.
I've never seen that. So OSU had 2 foul shots
Which
and
they
the
made.
ball
Which they made.
and still found a way to lose. 3-5 now in Stillwater for Oklahoma State. Mike Boynton is in massive, massive trouble, it would seem.
I mean, you wonder if they can really afford to buy him out, though.
No, I don't think that they can, and that's the problem. Like, it's not changing. And he recruits really well, but the
development's not
development is just, I mean, offensively, it is a very, very rough watch.
there. He just happens to beat OU every year, basically.
Yeah.
That's how he keeps his job.
Porter,
Yeah, it is.
you better get a couple wins against Oklahoma State this year.
Yep.
I mean, they've been beat by Abilene Christian,
Wow.
St. Bonaventure, Notre Dame, Creighton, I can understand, and Southern Illinois, who's not a terrible team, but you should go up to Carbondale and at least win, at the very least.
Josh, how are you, sir? Are you still alive? You still
I'm
with
good,
us?
guys. I'm just enjoying all this basketball talk. You know,
Yeah, I know
it's
you
exciting stuff.
I did buy the domain SoonerHoop.com last night, and I forwarded it to SoonerScoop.com. So we're a basketball
that.
site now, Josh.
It's official.
I don't
It
love
really
that.
does.
I don't
It
love
really
that.
does redirect.
Yeah,
to Center
I
Scoop.
know. I did it myself. SoonerHoop.com now goes to SoonerScoop.com.
That's funny.
I feel like you had an interesting night, Carey, between that, the redirect, and not sure that it was McKee on the call. I mean, that you had an evening, sir.
I left here at like 10:45
Yeah, I think
last night.
I will say, he was in the other room.
Yeah, I stayed till after the game, and you know, I was even watching Eddie's post game videos by the time I left here last night. No, we're in building mode. We're trying to get ready to. Pierce and I have been planning things out, so we're getting ready to change some things.
We won't
I'm
look
as
at
scared as
Eddie's
you are,
reaction.
Josh.
Look, I changed a bunch of stuff last night. It works just fine this morning. The worst thing is
We hope.
the Wi-Fi doesn't work. I can't understand.
The Wi-Fi works for everyone
I didn't
but
touch
one.
the Wi-Fi,
I know.
but it works for everyone but me.
He locked
Son of a
himself
bitch.
out.
We'll keep our eye on the portal for you.
So anyway, yeah, I'm hardwired now. No, but it's been a crazy week, and I think we need to kind of make sense of it. So all these people are entering the portal. It seems like A&M has people coming in left and right, and you see guys from Florida. You see, I mean, all the programs that are struggling right now. You see, sinking ships out there a little bit. It looks like, but you're going to see that. You saw that with Oklahoma State last year. I mean, it seems like you find one program and A&M. I mean, I wonder if like Mike Elko came in there and is like, look. I run this bitch, not you guys. Like, if you're not here to be coached and listen to me, like, you might as well leave. And everybody's like, oh, really? We'll take you up on that. But I mean, seriously, out there, Josh, that OU is targeting and has a chance of getting. Where are we sitting right now?
Well, I've been starting to do the individual kind of portal breakdowns, and there are several. I think the guy that stands out, and I had something about him in Woke a little earlier this morning. Spencer Brown, the big Michigan State offensive lineman. That's the first official visit I'm aware of that has been set, and he will be on campus not this coming weekend, but the December, I guess it'll be the 15th. So he will be there for a visit. A guy with a lot of career starts for Michigan State. It is a right tackle, so it kind of makes sense, with the expectation that Jacob Sexton will move back to the left side in 2024. That's, I think, his more natural position. So if he makes that move, then Oklahoma obviously has a gap at right tackle, unless Tyler Guyton just shocks all of us. But I like where Oklahoma is in that. And that's the crazy thing. And I told you guys privately, Spencer and I have been talking since like 2016, and I had totally forgotten about it. Like as a high school freshman and sophomore, he was messaging me, like sending me his video, which is something that happens all the time. But usually it's not a guy that ends up being a really good player. I'm not saying that's always the case, but generally it's a guy that I never hear from again. And then Spencer Brown obviously has been a multi-year Big Ten starter, and now has caught the attention of Oklahoma.
Okay, so all of these A&M guys that are flooding out there, still no Mr. Hicks coming out. Or
Yeah,
you got it.
is he out?
No, he's
No,
not.
no, he's not out, right?
He's not out. Neither is Walter Nolan, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. It got reported, but he hasn't officially.
Oh, so he's not
anything
officially in the
Not
portal
in it
yet.
just
Okay.
yet.
Not yet.
No.
Mm-hmm. The big one, and I want people. I can tell you, OU is 100% aware of this when it happened fairly recently. Is the Chase Basantis kid, the big offensive lineman for A&M that was like a 5-star. I want to say he started the majority of the games for A&M this year as a true freshman.
Yeah, he
is
started
an
12
absolute
games.
Yeah.
stud.
You started them all.
And
What would happen
Yeah,
right now,
so-
Josh? What would happen right now if you saw Bryce Foster enter the transfer portal?
No thanks. He's
I
not even
don't
good.
think anything.
Ooh.
It hasn't gone well for Bryce. And
Yeah.
I love Bryce.
He's been
is one of my
injured a
all-time
lot, though,
favorite
hasn't he?
Recruits as a dude.
Has he not been
What's
injured?
that?
Has he not
Yeah.
been injured a lot?
He's definitely had some problems, but just talking to some people around, I don't know why it hasn't worked, but it just seems like a kid that grew up in the Aggie culture. I don't know why it hasn't fit, but it just hasn't fit. Like something's been off. Really from pretty early on. Like he had a pretty good freshman year, and then from then on it hasn't fit. He got hurt as a sophomore, so you kind of understood that, and then I can't explain it. And his freshman year was 2021, kind of coming out of that A&M COVID year, which was Jimbo's real claim to fame. So I don't know what to make of any of that, but guys, they are. We were talking about this before we started. I really thought Mike Elko was going to kind of solidify things. And I don't get me wrong. I think Mike Elko is going to be fine. This isn't like, he's screwing up or anything. He's making some conscious decisions, I think, here. But it's surprising me how much, they're hemorrhaging. They're losing some key people. And you've got to think with Walter Nolan, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Well, and as a coach, look, you have every right to meet with a kid and say, he just doesn't fit the culture that I want to build here, no matter how talented he is. But at the same time, you're not willing to do that right when you get there. Like, I think if someone's a 5-star and they have all the talent in the world, the last thing you want is for them leaving before you can even really get in the building. So, I doubt that much could happen to where you just identify this guy's a shithead and I don't want him around here unless, he came to you demanding a raise or something from his NIL package. That's the only thing I could think of. But, so it doesn't seem like it is per script at this point with as many departures as there have been.
Yeah. Guys, do you think there's a chance where – yeah, I can't remember. It was Bob or Eddie said something along these lines, but do you think there's a conversation when Elko comes in and is kind of moving? Because we know, like Ohio State, a lot of the big-time programs, they don't offer you a ton of money up front. Certainly not the money we know A&M's been throwing around. It's more once you're here and you're established, okay, we got you. We're going to take care of you. But what flies in the face of that is a guy like Basantis. Like if there's no way they saw him and were like, okay, never mind, we're out on him. Like he's doubling his money, if anything. So because he looks like a future NFL guy. So I don't know. Like there's no question that there are some guys that are walking out the door that they're not happy are walking out the door. But I wonder if Elko's just saying, like, we're not going to do business in that way.
Josh, we can
hold on a second. By the way, you talk about that, and Colin Klein was hired as offensive coordinator. It's I think we all think it's a strange vision. Maybe he needs to go somewhere in Oklahoma City to get a better vision of things.
On the way from Manhattan to College Station, he could stop in Oklahoma City at Enjoy Vision, which is the best laser vision center in Oklahoma City. It's not even close. Combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care, which was life-changing for me. What they're doing for the unofficial 40 listener is they're giving $400 off of LASIK. All you got to do is go to enjoywithme.com. That is the letter NJOY withme.com, and use promo code U40. $400 off LASIK with my good friends, Enjoy Vision. This is where you LASIK.
It is the Enjoy Vision Fresh Perspective look around as we continue to look around and sniff around that A&M program. The Colin Klein hire, Josh, you look at what they were doing with Jimbo Fisher.
You're done, Bob. You're not talking anymore.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got to drive the show. I'm sorry. I'm driving the show. With Colin
Bob was
Klein,
going to say something.
Well, we got to move on.
I was about the Aggies. Fine.
I'm moving on to the Aggies with the offensive side of the ball. We can get back to that.
LT Overton. That's all I was going to ask about. Because it's a name that we all recognize for years and years. And then how do you balance star ranking from high school based on what you've been doing actually in college? And will you think there be any interest?
I kind of don't. Because I don't remember, because that's one of those interesting things where we have to gauge what was Brent Venables at Clemson doing, because that's a Georgia kid. Obviously, Clemson recruited the hell out of Georgia, and I don't remember Clemson being a huge factor in his recruitment. Now, I might need to go back and check myself a little bit on that, but I don't remember them being over the moon about him at the time, and so I kind of wonder if maybe they just don't see that as a fit or whatever. And certainly nothing he's done at Texas A&M says, oh, that's a guy you got to go get. That's not really he's not been bad, but I don't think he set the world on fire by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, according to On3, I don't know that he ever even visited Clemson during his recruitment. So I don't know that that's all that likely. Now, I guess it would just depend on what they think their numbers are going to look like. But with Ethan Downs saying he's going to return, you don't want to do anything to impede the growth of, guys like Taylor Wine and obviously PJ Adebawore. So we'll see. But, I want to let Carey get to his thing. But I don't see anything imminent with LT Overton.
Okay, so Connor Wegman, didn't finish the year. That was probably a death blow for Jimbo Fisher because he wasn't having a bad year. And was it Max Johnson? Was that the replacement? Was it Max? The lefty that came in?
His brother.
Brad Johnson's kid.
Brad Johnson's kid.
Whose brother's also entered the transfer portal now.
Correct.
Jake Johnson.
And he was the tight end?
Yes. Jake is the tight end.
Yeah, and he's
Max is headed to North Carolina.
Anyway, Colin Klein going in there. Here's the thing. They threw the ball a lot with Will Howard at Kansas State. And I don't know if maybe Kleiman wanted to go in more of a run direction or something, or, if he wanted to get away from throwing the ball as much, or if it was just a money play. I don't really know at this point. I don't know if anybody does.
Colin Klein's getting a ton of money.
Oh, I'm sure. Elko had like an $11 million assistant package.
Yeah, he's getting a ton of money.
So I would imagine, would you have to pay Colin Klein, though, a ton of money? You don't have to pay Colin Klein $2 million. Maybe to get him away from his alma mater, you do.
That would be my thinking. It's more about how to pull him out of there is where all the money would have to do it.
But, what is that fit, though? I could see it working, but I could also see it being kind of a signal to recruits, like kind of same old at Texas A&M, kind of a boring offense.
I can never decide how much of that offense is born of that's what Colin Klein wants to do, or that's what you have to do to win at Kansas State, because you just are not going to have the personnel to overwhelm everybody. So you're going to have to shorten games. You're going to have to kind of drag Oklahoma and Texas down into the mud with you a little bit. and kind of make everything ugly. So I don't know. I think he's pretty creative, and I know, you look at the places that have tried to hire him over the last couple of years. I know Notre Dame made a run at him. He's had, I think, Penn State. I think he turned down Penn State. So
Notre Dame last year and Penn State this year.
Yeah.
So Penn State got Colton Nicky after Colin Klein turned him down?
Supposedly.
That's the word.
Interesting.
Guys, I'd take Colton Nicky in that. I mean, I like Colin Klein, but I think Colton Nicky is a really I just like so much of what they do offensively.
I know one Gabe Eichert shares your opinion of that.
What'll be interesting is if Avery Johnson ends up following Colin Klein.
Well, they kind of chased Will Howard out to give him the job, and then you do that, and then he gets it. I mean, man, what egg on your face!
Pretty cutthroat. It would not be a good play by Kansas State.
Speaking of, guys, Will Howard in a Lincoln Riley offense, can anyone make sense of that?
Nope, I cannot.
Why do you think he wanted Dillon Gabriel so fast when he entered the portal?
I just don't understand the general fascination with Will Howard. Just the overall national feel for that guy.
Well, then the other question I have is why did Riley Leonard jump on the Notre Dame stuff so fast when I wouldn't say that Sam Hartman got noticeably better as a Notre Dame quarterback.
Yeah, I think he also got $2 million though.
Yeah,
so,
they got the Brady Quinn collective.
Yeah, I would imagine there's a lot of money in the in terms of that.
But I mean, the thing about that is, though, I mean, isn't that kind of damaging to Notre Dame too? That you're going out and getting a guy with 3 years left, like you're not doing that through the high school ranks. You didn't. And I understand losing Tommy Rees, your offensive coordinator, you lost some continuity there. But at the same time, I don't think there's a lot of big programs that want a 3-year guy as a grad, as a portal transfer.
Guys, the thing that like Eddie talking about the national narrative. Did you guys so 24/7 has their portal rankings? I commented a little while ago about something On3 had tweeted out, who obviously we're partnered with, and it was like it was their composite rankings, and Will Howard was ahead of Dillon Gabriel by a spot. I was like, I don't know what planet we're living on to make that sort of evaluation. But what it was is and somebody pointed out to me, I went back and looked. They have Will Howard as the 8th overall player in the transfer portal, and Dillon Gabriel is number 21. One spot ahead of Kyle McCord.
I guess I didn't see that unanimous All Big 12 list that came out.
I'm not the world's biggest Dillon Gabriel fan, but that's batshit crazy.
And it sounds like Kyle McCord might end up at Nebraska of all places.
She's not that good, so yeah.
Well, there's there's nothing that suggests that Dillon Gabriel, the bad games that he had this year, it was I think everybody clearly blamed those on Levy's play calling and his aggressiveness. Like Will Howard literally got benched for being bad, and then people didn't want him to come back as quarterback, except for what's the kid's name, Avery Johnson or whatever.
Yeah.
He didn't play well in the next game when he started, so they had to put Will Howard back in there. Like, there's no comparing their 2 seasons and saying Will Howard is better than Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Unless you're having some kind of NFL combine in your head.
Yeah, I mean, Will Howard's going to look great on a piece of paper because he's just enormous. But, guys, people will point to that Oklahoma State game. Will Howard had a 44% completion percentage against Oklahoma State through 3 picks that day. Had a QBR of 73.7. Dillon Gabriel, you're like, okay, that wasn't his best game. He threw for 340 yards and had and had a 151 QBR. It's not the same thing. It's not even close.
I just think the whole, quarterback portal, it gets very. I mean, the guy from Washington State.
Yeah, Ward's clean up.
He might be the best guy in the portal, and he's got 3 years left too, right?
Everybody says that. I think George Stoy would have a disagreement there.
He's not a Ward
not a fan.
Gonna have to talk to him about that, I guess.
Let's talk Dillon Gabriel. Oregon seems like the leader.
I tell you what, let's table that and wait till George gets in here because I think he's done a lot of stuff on that. And I don't know, Bob, I know you got to get out of here.
I was pretty surprised about some of the stuff that came out on Gabriel.
I was too. I was
stuff.
really surprised. All right, Bob, we'll let you get, and I know you got some kid stuff to do, and we'll bring in George and go over some of that. And so he did have, we should put this out there, he had a press conference yesterday. Well, not a press conference, but a function, a charity function.
Yeah, he was working with Fields for Future, which I think, this definitely is a little bit of the insight into kind of the character that Dillon Gabriel has, because he could have easily blown that off, said, I'm in the transfer portal, I don't need to go do that. And
Well, I'm sure he was getting paid handsomely for it.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, that's what these collectives are doing.
Sure.
They're coming up. I mean, I said
Well, I'd like the narrative out there that he's just a really good guy. And he wanted to help
He
out
is
the
a really
kids.
good guy.
No,
but, I mean, he's
I
not
know
going
what
to
you
turn down
mean.
money. Yeah. I mean, so anyway, we're going to talk about, we did not get any kind of advance notice that was happening. I think we're probably on, we're not on the old dying media, list, like, so many people that get those notices. People don't know about the internet still, apparently.
I should have probably been more
ad
proactive
agencies.
on that. I knew like Monday morning, Tuesday morning, but I didn't really think.
Thanks for pissing George and I off yesterday.
Well,
He did call George. I told him.
He called me, and I was out and about and was like not able to get over there in time, and so I was like, well, shit.
But he called you the morning of, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't
He's
know.
saying
No, I didn't know
It
until
was
the
like
morning.
maybe
of.
20 minutes before it was happening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, shit, I can't get over there right now. But
it was odd. I mean, some of the things that came out, I saw Eli Letterman's article that he wrote on it, and some of the quotes. See, that's how you give somebody credit.
It becomes more clear, I think, in terms of Dillon's decision, right?
Well, it's just confusing to me. I mean, because we haven't talked to him, but he hadn't talked to anybody about it. But the whole thing about, just not being invited to the Senior Bowl, and we figured his draft status wasn't as good as he wanted it to be.
I thought that there was a draft status, though.
Yeah, I'm sure it was late second, third, kind of.
No,
I
I don't
he
think-
was,
Like a not drafted.
I think
Yeah.
that was the indication.
Like, I think that he is in a spot now where it's like, I was planning to go to the NFL and put my name in, but now I really have
wasn't
no
drafted.
I have no
wasn't-
options.
Yeah,
not
they
being
weren't-
invited to the Senior Bowl is
That's a-
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jim
Considering
Nagy
the
does a
season
great
he had.
job with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised that.
Is that
And they liked it when they have names there.
Yeah.
I mean, Jalen Hurts went to that. I mean,
Is that a situation now, though, that with the new rules in place with the Senior Bowl and you can invite underclassmen to come participate, it's not just a, hey, you're a senior, you want to come play. It's
Which that I always, and maybe this is a bad take, but the Senior Bowl, to me, I don't understand why they're now inviting underclassmen. The point is to invite seniors. Like, that's the point of the whole deal.
I think that it's everything outside of the game and the practices. Isn't it more so getting one-on-one and FaceTime with some of these
Yeah, but that's what
general
that's what the combine's for.
Sure.
I mean, the Senior Bowl was supposed to be a reward for guys that, had the longer careers or whatever, and get to go and have an extra, time with whoever. Like that. The
working
point of the
with
Senior
NFL
Bowl
staffs
was meant for people like Dillon Gabriel. Like, that's who it was meant for.
Yeah. I was shocked to find out, though, that his draft status or his draft grade wasn't
basically was
necessarily
non-existent.
good.
Yeah.
And the fact that he wasn't invited to the Senior Bowl, I go, oh, okay, this makes sense why he would be entering his name in the portal on top of everything else that's going on the Oklahoma side, where everybody is ready for the Jackson Arnold era to begin.
Well, and the part that's just stupid is like some national media being like, I can't believe Oklahoma would want to move on from Dillon Gabriel. And it's like,
I think I get it to a certain extent, but I also, just having been around here,
well,
and
they're
that's
just not
why,
paying
like,
attention.
that it's a lot like, and I tweeted it on Tuesday morning. It's a lot like the ESPN blurb that was sent out that was like Exodus in Norman, when in reality it makes what we do so important because we're around it every day and we cover it and we can put it into context. It's not an Exodus.
Yeah.
Like Nate Anderson, God love him, like him, great hair. It's not an Exodus.
I mean, other than Dillon Gabriel, the only real contributor that's leaving is Tawi Walker.
Key Lawrence is technically a contributor.
Key Lawrence, but
I think that,
even him towards the end of the season wasn't
yeah,
a factor.
I think that everybody around here feels more confident that the younger guys at the safety position are going to be a brighter future than what he has.
And even Tawi, I mean, as much as he helped the team this year, I think they feel really good about the couple guys they're bringing back and the guys they're bringing in. And you look at some of the offer. I mean, the the kid they offered from UT Martin, you say, oh, UT Martin, but you look at his tape. I mean, he's a baller for UT Martin. His stats this year were like 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns. I mean, he can go. So, I mean, I don't know. I look at the guys that have entered the portal, and I don't think they've lost anyone too crazy. I mean, Dalen Smothers is a little bit head-scratching, you know, because I think they liked him, but also he damn near quit the team back in August. So
yeah, well, he did for a little bit. I mean, he went home, so and then he came back, and
so it's not surprising. It's just one of those guys.
It was one of those things like we heard that he'd left, and I checked in with people, and they're like, "Yeah, he's gone," but you also heard like it's not a completely done deal. So DeMarco had to kind of massage it and get him back here, but it ultimately just didn't work out. I mean, okay, back to the Dillon Gabriel thing. Here's Eli Letterman, selloutcrowd.com. He had the story on this, and this was the final quote and paragraph in his story. It says, this is from Dillon Gabriel. It says, I know the experiences throughout my lifetime have built me up to this moment. It's been tough to say the least, leaving faces that you love so dearly and were so enjoyable to work with, but it's part of it. I'm grateful for everything. I'm blessed to say that I'm grateful. Now, here's the thing, and I understand. I get, like, I'm not telling fans, like, you don't have anything to stand on by saying that this is a mistake. Because, look, if Jackson Arnold goes out this year and has, you know, some growing pains, and Dillon Gabriel goes to Oregon, and, you know, they're in the college football playoffs, or they're Big Ten champs. Like, if Jackson Arnold doesn't play well this year, yeah, you're going to be second guessed about why you let that happen. It's out there. I mean, you've left yourself open to that. Now, that being said, I do get the whole you've got to move on to a guy that's going to have at least 3 more years, that's going to be the face of your program, that's going to determine whether or not you are successful in the SEC versus if Dillon stayed another year, it'd be a surprise to him. It'd be a surprise to his family. And I don't know this for a fact, and we can't really say, but I know, George, you've been close to, you know, his camp a little bit, but it's hard for them to say how they would feel if he was coming back because he's not. But it's obvious OU just didn't want to put themselves in that position where they could lose a Jackson Arnold.
Yeah, I mean, they essentially said they're choosing Jackson for the next 2 or 3 years over Dillon Gabriel for 1 more year.
Yeah.
And the problem, that's the nature of college football, because if Dillon says, oh, I'm just going to come back because my draft grade wasn't great, I think Jackson's probably getting in the portal. Like, that's the reality of it, and you don't want that to happen.
Do we think that there was ever the conversation of, I'm going to play college football again, I want to come back?
I think it's reasonable to say that would have happened. I mean, when he says, you know, leaving faces that you love so dearly, I mean, the growth that we saw from him personally from year 1 to year 2, I think to me that's one of the most, I don't know, heartwarming stories that I saw, you know, unfold this year. Mm-hmm. It's just him kind of, you know, becoming comfortable in his own skin. I mean, we saw that. Like, I know you weren't here last year, but Eddie, I mean, he became, you know, tighter with you and was willing to joke around with you. He would never have done that a year ago.
No, I think that there was definitely a feeling out process, and maybe even more so of last year was just, or 2 years ago in his first year in Norman, it just was never comfortable with being, you know, the guy. I think that you probably get it in Orlando, but everybody knows that it's a little bit different in Norman, Oklahoma. You go to, you know, Homeland or wherever, and you're having to, you know, take pictures and do all that kind of stuff with just about anybody and everybody.
Just got a note that OU is getting ready to release something as we're sitting here talking. So
you'll get our instant reaction.
It will be the most instant reaction possible.
I mean, it's literally like counting down the seconds. 3, 2, 1. That would have been sweet if it would have came out.
Well, I don't have anything.
For those that can't see it, I can confirm I am not in the studio, and I can literally see Carey reach across to show Eddie something on his phone. So 100% can assure this all just happened.
Here it
is.
is.
Just a contract extension to the Cotton
Come
Bowl.
on.
Boo! Well, we did have a lead on that.
I was about to say we did.
I told
but
George yesterday that I had heard that OU and Texas were working on an announcement. It had come out of
$140 million Cotton Bowl renovation.
This is big. I mean,
yeah.
This is keeping OU at the Red River rivalry at the Cotton Bowl through 2036.
I'm going to put this on the board.
And they're going to have an estimated $140 million in Cotton Bowl
Hey, man,
renovations.
I'm all in. I'm as
The
all in
bathrooms
on-
will probably work now.
I kind of don't like that. I'm going to be honest.
You like the dive bar element to
I am
Red River?
all in on the idea of that game literally never moving.
They even have some renderings out there. I mean, it looks nice.
Yeah.
They've got
It is disturbing, though.
They've got like a fan level, like up above where you can go out and mingle and get concessions and stuff. This is a really big renovation.
Who pays for that?
I don't think you can get
City of
hepatitis in that
Dallas.
stadium, and I'm not crazy about it.
I mean, this will be paid, I'm sure, by the taxpayers of Dallas.
Correct.
You can't get hepatitis, but you can get something else. You can get it probably just about anything else inside of the State Fair of Texas. And you probably could get hepatitis if you
You
wanted
could definitely get hepatitis. I'd say that's easier than VD to get.
hepatitis?
Yeah.
Luckily, I haven't.
They're expected to be done by September 2026.
Okay.
That's
the first phase.
awesome.
That denial was quick, Eddie. I don't trust it.
Yeah, I mean, this is cool.
Very cool.
2036. So,
All right. Well, we won't shit on it too
guess
much.
what? The Red River rivalry, they're SEC ready.
Yeah. I think so. It's very cool.
Do love that because, guys, I think we do a YouTube live if they ever announce it moving to Jerry World. We just have to go on and we're just protest. We stay live until it stops. We're just going to have to go on.
It'd be
for
disgusting.
weeks.
Let me ask, what announcement would have been made that you would have been like, holy shit, I can't believe that? Like Dillon Gabriel's playing in the bowl game?
No, I think it would have been if OU Texas moved to Jerry World. I would have been like, this sucks.
Oh, yeah. Everybody would hate that.
I was worried because when Eddie mentioned the OU Texas thing the other day to me, he's like, there might be something out there about that. I was like, man, if they're moving it to Jerry World, I'm gonna be pissed off. I don't know what news would have made me jump out of my seat.
Dallas Sports Commission and Dallas Tourism Public Improvement District increasing the game fees paid to each school as part of the agreement as well.
Very cool. I'm all in on this. Just looking at the pictures
shows
now, it
you-
looks
I mean,
nice.
Interesting that happens when they make the move to the SEC. That's all I'll say.
What is it they're calling OSU and A&M?
Oh, the like great value Red River rivalry game or whatever, like the Walmart version.
I think I saw the thing like, Mom, can we get Oreos?
Oh, yeah.
And we have Oreos at home. And it was like, Mom, can we get the Red River rivalry? She's like, no, we have the Red River rivalry at home.
Yeah,
And it was
that's
OSU versus A&M. Okay, so anyway, transfer portal, back to that for Oklahoma. I mean, we've talked about it this week, and Josh, I know you had a lot to say on it, but you were talking about ESPN making it the great exodus from Oklahoma, which A&M's going to steal all those headlines. By the way, there's no way that they don't take the lead, and especially meaningful transfer portal guys. But Oklahoma moving on, Jackson Arnold. I know we're writing stories about this, but kind of what do you guys take as far as what OU really needs out of the portal right now?
defensive line.
Just the same as everybody else in the country,
Yes.
but maybe.
But I think
Exactly.
they're gonna. I think they have a chance to land like some of the guys that, and you can follow the follows. And Stoops Bros does a great job of that on the board, and I know Josh has been on top of it too. But like some of the guys they're following. I mean, the kid that just announced in the portal this morning from Florida. I don't know how to pronounce his name. That's a dude.
Princely.
Princely, you man Mullane, it's something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if they could get somebody like that, I mean, that'd be
Game
massive.
changer.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a game. That is like what we thought a Deshaun McCullough was going to be like, right?
Yeah.
Like an instant contributor. Day one, he steps in. He's taking somebody's spot.
Yeah.
What about, I don't know, we talked about this in other places, but
If he says defensive line, I'd say tight end. I mean, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that is a very, very important position moving forward.
could OU have two guys on the defensive line from Florida, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, and that's something I would almost wonder about if I'm Oklahoma. What is Princely and Chris McClellan's relationship like?
Sure.
Is that going to help? Because McClellan's good enough to help you. He's not a world beater. He's not going to change the game for you. But would you take him if that gives you a chance at handling a guy like Princely and really bolstering your defensive end room? Because, guys, I mean, this is a guy who played in the SEC last year, had 11 and a half tackles for loss and 7 sacks. That'll play. So like I said, we'll see. But I mean, and again, he's a kid that Oklahoma recruited the first time around to it was kind of like McClellan, kind of off and on. It was just kind of I think it's a good example of like, why does a kid from Texas that was well recruited but not highly recruited suddenly end up at Florida? Because largely because Dan Mullen would wait until the end and then, okay, who's left that's, highly regarded or we think is good on tape? And they would watch kids like this and say, okay, yeah, sure. And kind of ignore that, maybe their focus wasn't always where it needed to be and those kind of things. And that's why Dan Mullen got fired. But I think both are really talented guys that can absolutely help Oklahoma. I think it's a question of, do they fit what Oklahoma wants to do? Like, even as rentals, can they come in and be a part of the culture, or is Oklahoma going to have to kind of make it work around them? And I don't think they'll do that. I think they've drawn a pretty clear line in the sand on those kind of guys.
Outside of those guys' defensive line, who are some other possibilities that are out there?
Well, I mean, George knows more about it than I do. The Thor Griffith kid from Harvard's come up a lot. I like Nate Clifton at Vanderbilt, another really productive SEC guy, was a captain last year for Vanderbilt. So I think that says a lot for him kind of fitting in that mold I'm talking about. Like,
sure.
He's the guy that gets it. And I think he had like 9 tackles for loss for Vandy last year. And we know, you can look at that a couple of different ways. Like, okay, that's not as good as Princely, but he's also not playing. He's probably facing a lot of doubles and that kind of stuff because he was their best defensive lineman. So he is one that I think is kind of interesting. I haven't now. I mean, like I said, we'll have to see what happens with David Hicks, because I think there is some waiting game here with a couple of guys that I think we've all heard talk like, okay, this guy could end up in the portal. But as more and more of these A&M guys end up in there, it definitely makes you wonder, like, is Hicks going to say, okay, I've got to see what's out there. I don't want to be the last guy, to turn the light off kind of thing. So I think they're being patient with some of these guys. But at the same time, like I said, I think Clifton makes a lot of sense as a defensive end. But I haven't yet seen a lot of defensive tackles that you're like, okay, yeah, that guy fits the bill. That's going to help them and that's going to make them better.
But you mentioned it, Eddie, tight end. I mean, obviously, it's a barren wasteland. And we don't know on the young guys who might be able to step up eventually. But you've got portal action. You'll probably have some more portal action.
I think you have to. And the Jalen Conyers stuff is it's really interesting.
Yeah.
If he can get into school, you get him into school immediately and you go that route.
I think they're going to take multiple tight ends.
They need to.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, they only have what I would consider as 2 guys on campus, and that's Cade McIntyre and Caden Helms, who we still have no idea what he's even going to be. He can't get onto the practice field. He can't stay healthy.
Go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say real quick, like, I don't know how you can build anything around the plan with Caden Helms. He's never been healthy. And I know people think he's talented. I do too. But at some point, you got to stop hoping and wishing at that tight end position. You got to have some guys you can actually count on.
But when you look at Caden Helms out on a practice field when he's out there and he's healthy, like, it's you just kind of daydream about what he could look like when he gets a little bit more muscle. He looks similar to Nick Anderson in build. He just needs to get a little bit bigger. I'm not saying he's going to play like Nick Anderson, but he's a guy I'm not ready to give up on.
Have they offered a portal tight end yet?
I haven't seen anybody outside of Conyers who they have visited with, which I would assume that you're not going to visit if you're not offering.
Yeah, Conyers hadn't tweeted that out, but he's 100% got an offer. There's no doubt in my mind.
Joe John is also following one Rocket Sanders from Arkansas.
Running back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting.
I mean, he had a really good year for a really bad offense.
Well, he was hurt this year, wasn't he?
Was he?
He was hurt this year. Last year, he was really, really good.
Those are the numbers that I saw.
I think so.
Gotcha.
Rocket was recruited as a linebacker by Grinch and those guys coming out of high school.
It's good to get
so
out.
they liked his athleticism too. Yeah, I mean, and I know people will bag on him for that because he's been a great running back. But God, if you guys know me, if I can spin a running back to linebacker, I'm interested every time. So I don't think that's a bad evaluation, but certainly wouldn't hurt to have a guy like that in your running back room. No doubt.
Yeah, he only
about
had 62 carries this year. I think he was pretty hurt. Last year he had 222, 1,443 yards, and 10 touchdowns. He was really good in 2022.
That'll play.
I don't want to paraphrase kind of things that you said this week, Josh, but I thought it was interesting what you said on the recruiting report about Xavier Robinson. I think we all feel like Tatum is a guy that can make an instant impact. Size, just physicality. But it seemed like you kind of, we're hedging a little bit on whether Robinson could come in and make an impact next year.
I think he can. I think he just has to have a role. I don't think he's a guy that, like Taylor. If Taylor Tatum came in and hit all the right notes and had 120 carries or something next year, I would not be shocked at all about that. I think that's entirely within his ability level.
Do you see
Xavier
Robinson more of a Tree Flowers almost?
I could see him being used that way. We've got to see some evidence that Oklahoma's going to do that.
Yeah,
and again, we don't really know because to be fair to Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley, we don't know what their plan's going to be, how they're going to kind of marry the ideas. Joe John largely being part of that Levy tree and kind of running those schemes, and Luttrell obviously being a pure air raid guy. How does that all kind of meld
But Lincoln
together?
was an air raid guy, and he fit in Dimitri Flowers really well.
100%. People used to get mad that Riley would use those guys. You could put another receiver out there. I loved the versatility of Trey Millard and Aaron, Dimitri Flowers. Go down the list. I like those guys. I like having that use because I think it makes it harder to read what you want to do based on your personnel grouping, because he can be a receiver, he can be a blocker, he can even be a runner. There's a lot of versatility that gives you, and I like that a lot. But we haven't seen any evidence that they're going to do that. Now, again, I don't, and honestly, there's not a lot of evidence that Robinson knows how to do that, wants to do that. I mean, he's a Carl Albert guy. He'll do what's best for the team. I don't doubt that for a second, but he doesn't know the first thing about, being an H-back and blocking and some of the responsibilities. He'd have to learn a lot of that because he's been the feature guy. That's all he's ever known, or at least that's all he's known in his last couple of years.
You missed a great moment, Josh. I know you couldn't see it, but
I thought he was trying to say Aaron Ripkowski, and I was like, I don't think he fits in that same category, but I just was trying to help Josh
but Eddie
out.
gave
said
you-
Ripkowski. I didn't
Eddie
know
gave
who
you the most
said.
"What the f*** are you talking about?" look I've ever seen.
I didn't hear. I didn't.
Well, I thought
catch-
he was trying to pronounce. I thought he was trying to remember Ripkowski's name
I
because he
gotcha.
said Rip something,
Oh.
and he was like, "Oh gosh, I can't remember his name," and I just yelled Ripkowski, and I don't think he was thinking of Ripkowski, but
I was thinking of Dimitri Flowers, and currently there is a safety that I saw 2 weeks ago in high school that is Aaron Flowers, and for some reason I wanted to say Aaron,
That's
and
right.
it just
you were saying
got it
Aaron,
all
and I was like
tangled up.
Ripkowski because you were talking about fullbacks, and I was just like,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. It's completely my brain having too much recruiting going on all the damn time.
All right, so offensive line, let's talk about that real quick because, look, I believe Tyler Guyton's completely gone. I really don't have any questions in my mind.
Sure.
I've been told that that's, something that had been in the works basically all season. This was going to be his last. And, the whole thing about the end of the year and him not playing, I think that only leads to, the credence that he's not coming back. You've got Andrew Rame out there with the decision. I know, Josh, you've kind of got some info on that. I don't know if you want to talk much about that. And then, outside of that, you've now got to find a center. Is that Everett? Probably. But wasn't there a pretty interesting center that entered the portal the other day, or am I smoking something?
Well, if you're doing that, you didn't invite me. That'd be interesting. The two kids from North Texas. It seems like there is a connection there. I think he was an interior guy, though.
We were trying to figure out, we were zaprudering pictures to see if he was leaning over a ball or not.
Yeah,
at one point.
the Fabici kid, he does seem promising at the very least, and it has an interesting story from Coppell. basically committed as a walk-on to Seth Luttrell. So there is a relationship there, I would have to think. And, I think right now it's more about just you need bodies. I mean, they are kind of depleted, it seems like, just in terms of depth and starters.
Yeah, I mean, I know, Josh, you talked this week about Caden Green, Jacob Sexton, you're set there, but
where the hell is Jake Taylor playing? Are they playing him at tackle or guard?
There's smoke coming out of Josh's ears right now.
That's my big, because I was just telling Bob, I was like, well, depending on where they see Jake Taylor playing, like
that could really affect what they go out and get. Yeah,
because I feel like he should be a starter next year at some spot. Like I don't know how you can't find a spot for him on the field.
I wonder if some of these offers are largely motivational tool for Jake Taylor. Like, okay, look, these guys will come take, because guys, last we saw him, he's working at right tackle. That's all he played, to my knowledge, this year. Even though, like Eddie's referencing, I wanted to see him get work at guard. Just get him out there somewhere, because I mean, this is a guy that I was a huge believer in high school, and I know, talking to some people around that program, there was a lot of belief that he was like one of the better offensive linemen in the country. Oklahoma was very, very high on Jake Taylor coming out of Bishop Gorman. So it surprises me that there hasn't been more progress. Now, I will say, and I think Bob's kind of correctly, and I didn't know it until Bob did his tracker, where Jake played 4 games. Like, I think maybe they just decided, okay, we want him, and we want an extra year of his eligibility, and they kind of toughed it out maybe when they could have played him or gotten him some snaps and just kind of went a different direction. So I've got to think he's part of the plan. I mean, if not, I think he would have gone to the portal. But as far as offensive linemen, I mean, I've been able, like I said, Spencer Brown, the other kid from Michigan State, it's Gio Vandermark or something like that. He's an interior guy. Believe played a lot of right guard for them at the little bit of tape I watched. And then the guy that you're referencing at North Texas that Seth is so familiar with, Fabechi Nwanumi or something like that. He started at right tackle almost exclusively for North Texas. So they're looking at the right side of the line, guys, which tells me, as Carey was talking about, that they see Caden Green at left guard. Like that's been, I know at right tackle was the plan at one point, but God, when you're that good at guard, I mean, guys, that might be OU's next, like, all-American offensive lineman. He's at that kind of level. And if you have that, maybe you just don't mess with it at all.
Where do you see Heath Ozeda fitting into the mix? Because, I mean, this was just a couple weeks ago that we were talking about. There's a lot of people that feel very strongly about him within the program.
Yeah. I always thought he was a guard. Now, I think we know Bill's going to put his best 5 out there and doesn't really care as much positionally, and certainly not left to right, but even guard tackle, I don't think he loses a lot of sleep about that. Like, it just five guys that work the best together. Okay, get them out there. And he's a big kid. He's about 6'5". Last time I saw him, he was 305, 310. I'm sure he's added some good weight since then. But I've always seen him as a guard. And Eddie, you're dead on. I mean, I've talked to a couple people in the last few weeks, and I mean, there is very real buzz that he is going to be a very good player, and they're very excited about him.
It's going to be interesting to see who starts in the bowl game on the offensive line, because I don't think Andrew Rame's going to play in the bowl game. No. I mean, we saw his Instagram story the other day. He's out in L.A. already training. Walter Rouse, I don't know. I think he'll play. You got Sexton and Green, so you'd think Everett would be at center, and I don't know who's going to be at the other guard spot.
I mean,
Jake Taylor. Let's just go with Jake Taylor. That's what I want to happen. Let's just make that.
Well, if he really is making that type of progress, they can play him in the bowl game.
I guess Matauer will play.
Sure, yeah, I think he'd play.
Oh, of course, you're right.
That was a brain fart. I just forgot about him.
But
don't let it happen again, please.
I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it's pretty straightforward, but you could see a lot of rotation. You could see Heath Ozeda. You could see some Logan Howland maybe. Like, you could see some young guys if Oklahoma can create some breathing room, which I'm not sure they will, because I think people are really underestimating Arizona. That's a good football team.
Yeah, I don't know if people are underestimating them as much as they just don't know a whole lot about them. And you look at the name Arizona, and they've just been so bad over the last couple of years, really since Mike, that people probably just don't stay up and watch it a whole lot. The Fafita kid can sling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good.
And the running back's pretty good. The defense was a top 40 defense. Who plays, I believe, linebacker for them is one of our favorites. Isn't Justin Flo out at Arizona?
That is correct.
I've seen him running around for Arizona late
I think
night.
I saw him get kicked out of a game last year.
I'm sure he did. In fact,
he might get kicked out of this game.
That'd be awesome. That'd be some of the best Scoop HD. I might just follow him to the locker
Yeah, I would
room.
just say Javante Barnes, get ready because Justin Flo is going to come for you. I mean, that was for his first claim to fame. It was what's his name that ended up at TCU, knocked him out of the 5-star. Zach Evans. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was when we were all like, "Oh God!" Like George, I don't even know that you know this story, but we're at the Rivals All-American camp a couple years ago, and they're just like, it's 7-on-7. They're just out there. No, I think it was even 1-on-1s. It wasn't even 7-on-7 yet. And Flo just comes in way too hot on Zach Evans and twisted his ankle pretty damn good. Evans was done for the day. And you're like, you don't see that stuff at this level. Like those guys all know, like, man, we're making business decisions out here all the time. Like they're not tackling hard, but I mean, Flo is going to flow. Like he does not know anything but 150 miles an hour.
Yeah, he was. I got to think Justin Flo is probably the closest thing to the water boy that we have today, to Bobby Boucher.
He was nuts.
I think he still is.
I love it.
Where'd he go initially? Oregon State?
Oregon.
Yep. That's right.
I bet Dan Lanning would love him.
Yeah. I think he's another one of those guys who just couldn't stay healthy, if I remember right, at Oregon. He just kind of because he started as a freshman. I know he did. He and the Noah Sewell kid that was just a freak mutant.
Yeah.
I mean, a hell of a linebacker class, 2 5-stars next to each other.
Is there any?
Oh, go ahead, Eddie.
Oh, I was going to say, is there any chance just in terms of another position, and I've been asked about it multiple times, is there a kicker in the portal, and would Oklahoma take a kicker? I find that conversation to just be fascinating.
I've not even looked to see if there's.
Do you even
like
really
a
have to
kicker.
go to the portal to find a kicker, though? Don't you just go to Chris Saylor and say who's out there?
I mean, you should be able to go to the Union and find somebody
Cole
better
or
than what they
whoever.
had this year.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a lot of confidence in Gavin Marshall, and that was weird.
I just think you have to bring somebody in that has some sort of kicking experience. Otherwise, you're really betting on.
And the
guys
Liam
that have never
Evans
kicked
kid
in
is
that.
supposed to be really, really good. I just don't know if
He looks
you
great
wanna
on Twitter.
Trot a freshman out there when you need 3 points to win a game in Baton Rouge or Oxford or Auburn or Norman. Like I don't know.
It's like we're talking about at tight end. You can't keep just hoping it's going to work out. You've got to bring as many fail safes in there as you possibly can. And especially at kicker, where guys are willing to come in and walk on and see and like kind of earn their spot. That's just generally the way it works, unless you are a really elite high school kicker.
You've
That's got to have somebody in there.
That's the other thing too, is they're not giving kickers scholarships. Like that is something that this staff is not going to do.
Should we offer Zach Schmidt an NIL deal to kick a burrito? Maybe we can reverse the curse.
Yeah.
Well, should he kick like a quesadilla or something just like something
God, quesadilla
different? We'll
sounds
do it
so
in
good right
backwards
now.
order.
Rico is giving me a quesadilla after this is over.
I'm so hungry. I'm on a diet though.
We had a very awkward moment in the office yesterday. There are often awkward moments, but I thought George looked good yesterday. He was wearing a shirt, and just because
I really wish you wouldn't have said this on the pod now.
we hang around Baker a little bit.
The amount of comments I'm about to get about Carey saying I looked good yesterday.
Baker is a part owner. Like he's invested in that Legends clothing brand. I think Big Cat's in on it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked at George and I said, "Is that a Legends shirt you're wearing?"
Yeah, I just bought it.
And I said, "You look kind of buff."
Well, I am buff.
And it upset Eddie greatly that I gave him a compliment.
It didn't upset.
You left.
Yeah,
you
I just
left.
got out of there. Well, the conversation was just
I can't tell another man that he looks good in a shirt.
No, it wasn't even that. It was just like, oh, it's so soft.
I did feel it.
It is
a soft shirt.
Wow.
It's a
that's
soft
getting
shirt.
clipped.
I mean, I felt the little, just the.
Stop.
At least this isn't on video with me making the feeling
We gotta
motions.
bleep this out.
No, but I just thought you looked nice yesterday.
Oh, Jesus
and
Christ.
have I ever said that to you before? No, I haven't.
I don't know.
I haven't, and you deserved praise on yesterday. So
Thank you.
don't say I'm a
My
horrible
arms
boss.
did. My arms did look really good in it. I tweeted that out too.
Anyway, hey, what about high school, Josh? Because you've got some, you got a story out there that was just released. You got
Real quick, just are we looking too far into like OU offers the San Diego State cornerback? Is it too much to be looking into? Oh, so that means this guy's leaving, or they offer a safety, or they don't offer a safety, and then you go, oh, Billy Bowman's definitely coming back. You guys see what I'm saying?
I think it's more of
are offers corresponding with what's leaving or what's staying?
We've seen the offers that have gone out. I think it's more of like cornerback makes sense to me because they need somebody veteran to come in, and it's the same with some of these other. I think it's spots that they're like, we need depth at those spots more so than like, oh, we know so and so's leaving. Like I think
you're losing Key Lawrence and Reggie Pearson. I mean, I don't want to get yelled at on Twitter, but it's like both of those guys were good at times, but they also had their moments where you hope for a little bit better.
I think they feel really good about the safety spot. I think you look at who's coming back there, especially and
Peyton Bowen, what he's going to do.
And we forget, too, they added some really key pieces in the portal after the spring. I mean, they got a DJ Terry in the spring. I think, was Everett, did he come, was he in the spring or did he come late?
He was in the spring.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I mean, so they got some key pieces that weren't, or they got them, later in December. So I think it's too early to say on some of it. I don't know. I'm rambling.
I will say with the Dejon Malone kid, the corner they offered from San Diego State, he is a guy. He played a lot of safety early in his career, and he's played corner the last couple years for them. So I think they like him partially because he brings that versatility. They could use him kind of like they did with Key when they got in a pinch against Texas, and they had to run him out there a little bit at corner and have another body that could do it. So
I mean, Dolby's kind of played
out of position.
Wherever.
I thought.
Yeah.
Love Kendall Dolby.
Okay. Anything else portal wise? Now, Billy Bowman. I mean, he appeared on an OU media deal this week, and really didn't say anything one way or the other. But he did seem to, show some commitment still to the Oklahoma program, I would say. But we're still we're on the runway there, right? I mean, we still kind of just think this has to play out a little bit with
I would think so.
relationships and his girlfriend's Jada Coleman. And
yeah, I would think so. And, on top of that, I don't know, maybe I've kind of dug in and I can't get it out of my mind, but I think that what is basically going to be offered to come back in 2024, not just a resume-wise, but, maybe like leaving a legacy, trying to win a Jim Thorpe, and for Danny Stutzman, trying to win a Butkus, being the faces of the program. I think that those two guys would be like any type of media availability over the next 6 months until the season starts. One of those two would be at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's a lot to turn down, and you can, like, those two can really, truly improve their draft stock from what it is right now.
I fully believe Danny's going to be back. Like, it just makes, I mean, and that's not based off like intel or info. It's just like, it makes so much sense for him to come back. Like, it's not one of those things like, if he ended up not getting hurt and finishing the season great and all that, then maybe he leaves. But the way it ended for him, like, I just don't think he's ready, like, to be completely blunt. Like, I think he right now would get drafted on day 3, whereas if he comes back, maybe he's getting drafted on day 2.
I agree.
Bowman's more interesting, though, because I think the way he finished the
interesting.
season is like, holy shit, he could be, somebody could fall in love with him and take him on day 2.
DJ Terry's interesting.
Yeah.
Jacob Lacey's interesting. And those four, like, you look at all four of those guys, and I feel like I don't even know if there's really a decision to be made in terms of Jalil Farouk.
I think
he's
Farouk's
coming
more
back.
of, if Farouk, I would be less surprised if and again, not based on anything, like if he portaled or something. Like if
I think his draft grade is going to be a little bit of a wake up call for him and people around him.
And I think he should come back, and Josh has said it a lot, he should come back and play in the slot.
Yeah.
Because that's his future. I think that's his future in the NFL, is playing in the slot.
I don't think fans would agree.
I think he could be I think he could be better than what we've seen, which we all like. We all think Jalil Farouk's a good player. I think he could be beyond that as a slot. He brings a lot of unique stuff.
And you look at the production that Drake Stoops had this year in the slot, and you say, okay, well, Jalil could be, just as good in that spot, I think.
Like, all the stuff that they like about Jalil Farouk, and that Jeff Lebby liked about him, using him as a running back. I mean, they see stuff on the practice field, and you've done some articles on him, like his people kind of compare him a lot to Debo Samuel, which we don't really see, but they see that on a daily basis in practice. So if you're putting him in the slot, like, get him the ball in space. Get him the ball in the middle of the field where he can make guys miss. Like, you can run him deep every once in a while because he can do that, but you should, 60 to 70% of his catches should be in open field where he can make plays, make people miss.
Yeah, and it felt like at times this year, and eventually it kind of changed, but that he was going to try and, take over the Marvin Mims role. He's just not the same player. And I think that, coming to that realization for him and also the staff and moving him inside, I think would benefit everybody. He's just not a speedster. That's not his game. He's more quick in open space.
All right.
And
ahead,
physical, breaks tackles. He's a
Think
bigger
of the
guy
Texas
than I
game.
think people realize.
The Texas game, he was phenomenal. Breaking tackles and getting yards after the catch.
Remember that catch against Tulsa when he just ran through a guy's tackle to score a touchdown?
You want him back too. That's a guy that you want. You're trying to convince to come back.
Yeah. Josh, we talked a lot about the portal, and you wrote about it today. But I know you talked about it on the recruiting report. But OU still in the mix for a 5-star defensive lineman from the high school ranks.
They are. Was an interesting conversation I had over the last couple of days. Conversations. Talking to people. I was just checking around because obviously we talked about on the recruiting report the loss of Elijah Robinson and what the fallout could be of that at Texas A&M. For those that don't know, defensive line coach at Texas A&M, Elijah Robinson, has left to go be the defensive coordinator at Syracuse. He is one of the best recruiters in the country. He is the primary reason that defensive line room is as stocked as any defensive line room in the country. I mean, he is a very, very good recruiter. And, and obviously I know people out there saying the NIL, that didn't hurt either. So, but with him leaving, I think it's opened the door, and we've already seen several guys enter the portal. We've already talked about LT Overton with Bob. There will be some more that I would expect. Walter Nolan's been rumored. And then I think the Effidil kid went in the portal a little while ago that Hayes Fawcett, our guide on 3, tweeted about. So there are more bodies, and then obviously the David Hicks scenario. But the recruiting side of it is he had another good defensive line class going, and obviously beat Oklahoma earlier this year for Dominick McKinley, the big defensive lineman out of Lafayette, Louisiana. Talking to some sources, I'm expecting Todd Bates to be at his state championship game this Friday. And it's, what was interesting to me is it could seem like, okay, Oklahoma's trying to get back in the race. I talked to someone who was like, he never came off Oklahoma's board. He was always a guy they've been talking to, they stayed focused on. I don't think Oklahoma dropped any of their push for him. I think he's been a focal point. And now, like I said, with him playing in a state title game for Acadiana against Baton Rouge Catholic, which is a power in Louisiana, Todd Bates is going to go down there. He's going to shoot a shot. I would guess, maybe he goes down there Friday, sees him. Maybe he hangs around on Saturday, and then Sunday maybe goes in and does an in-home official visit. I don't know that part. That's just kind of me connecting dots. But he is expected to be at the game on Friday, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But if he were to get up on Oklahoma's campus at some point in the next 2 weeks, I wouldn't be stunned. I think that's entirely possible.
Is there anybody else in terms of, we're getting to the point now 2 weeks away from early National Signing Day, anybody else on that late flip itinerary?
There's nobody that screams out at me that makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
Obviously, again, we know Williams Nwaneri is what everybody talks about. I think that ship's largely sailed. I mean, he was mocking somebody the other day. It was one of those, how many days in a row can I tweet at Williams Nwaneri until he commits to Oklahoma or something? And he was like, how many days are you going to do this before you realize I'm a Tiger? And you're like, okay, I think that pretty much does it. Guys don't usually come at fans like that who are just being excited and trying to help the cause for their school. But I think that was kind of writing on the wall. We've talked about Tyler Mercer. I know Oklahoma would like to bring him in as a really, really good preferred walk-on and kind of see what happens from there. I don't think that's going to play out. Even with Willie Fritz leaving Tulane and going over to Houston, I wonder if maybe Houston suddenly gets involved there and they try to bring him down, just keep him within Texas state lines. So we'll see what happens, but there's nobody that is immediately on my radar. The Cam Campbell kid out of Tampa Bay, it's possible. I wouldn't rule it out, but I think there are some other issues there. Like, I don't know that the grades are exactly where they need to be. I think it may be close in the second semester, and I don't know if he's a guy Oklahoma wants to put a scholarship toward and not be sure he's going to be on campus next June. So we'll see what happens. But again, I think McKinley is easily the most interesting story to follow here over the, now that we're literally 2 weeks out from today, from signing day.
And when does Eddie Pierre-Louis announce his?
December 15th.
And you still feel good about that, Josh? Or I guess
I do. And again, God, I do this. I have one guy every week. Yeah, Eddie Pierre-Louis. I think probably my mental state with him over the last month had just been like, I don't think this is going to work out. Something's going wrong here. It kind of felt like Grant Bricks. It was just all trending in the wrong direction. But talking to a few people, I think that in-home visit that he had with Bill Bedenbaugh on, I believe, that Sunday night, I think that went really, really well. I think they answered a lot of the family's questions. A lot of the, I think it's been pretty commonly known that Mom wanted him to stay closer to home. And I think that's why a lot of people thought this might end up with UCF or maybe Miami. But you talk to the schools he's listed, the 5 schools he listed, Miami's not really that involved. Oregon's not really that involved. UCF, I feel like if he was going to make that choice, he'd have done it. Like, what at some point, what are you waiting for? And just talking to people, I just think Oklahoma's really, really impressed him. And I think at the same time, Oklahoma's got some urgency, guys. We know this offensive line class hasn't gone the way it was drawn up. It hasn't been what Bill Bedenbaugh probably hoped for. But at the same time, a nice win like Eddie Pierre-Louis kind of buoys the I guess raises the level a little bit, and then you get to start moving towards 2025, which, like we've talked about over and over again, is where Oklahoma has to really have a solid offensive line class.
I have another high school question for you. You during the recruiting report this week, you got to see the kid from Lincoln Christian, and it was the first time you'd seen that video. Had you reached out at all since then, or gotten any more information on I can't even remember the kid's name at this point, but
Caleb Dillard.
Caleb Dillard,
name. Yeah. And I did. I talked to a few people around Tulsa. They were not surprised that Eddie was impressed. That kid has a lot of early rep. Obviously, Lincoln Christian's a great program. It's always interesting when kind of programs like this, happen, where you got Heritage Hall and Lincoln Christian kind of in some ways mirrors of each other. And I think there are a lot of people around the area that are very interested in him. We're very interested to see him, at Lincoln Christian, kind of follow his development. So I think he's going to absolutely be a guy that we're tracking. Now, I want to see, we'll have to see what he tests like. What's he run like? What are the real discernible physical tools? But there's no question. I mean, he is a guy that this wasn't like a flash in the pan. They think he's got a chance to beat somebody.
And I guess we got word on Andy Bass's situation, Eddie.
Yeah, he tore his ACL in do you break your meniscus?
No, you tear your meniscus.
Tear your meniscus. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a complete knee, just bang-up job. It sucks.
Yeah, it's
really sucks for him. I feel terrible for him.
Have we heard if he's an early enrollee?
I think he was going to be, but I don't know that for a fact.
Can you do that at Hall, Eddie?
That's what I was wondering.
That's an even better question.
I was just wondering because
it sucks because they had a really good track team, and with him and Jordan Harris, they won a state championship. I think they even set the state record a year ago.
They did
with those two and Rivers Faulkner, who's a walk-on over here at OU. It just shitty situation. I feel terrible for him.
I was wondering because if he is, then he would be getting to rehab at OU, which he'll get to. I mean, ACL he'll rehab this summer at OU too.
Sure.
I just was thinking off the top of my head he could be rehabbing as soon as next month with OU.
Yeah.
Now you expect a full coaching contingent at the Washington State Finals this weekend on Saturday, Josh?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet that there will be a fair amount of bodies there. We talked about the recruiting report. Oklahoma was there to watch their semifinal game. I can't remember who they played in that one. I'm going to blank out on that, but with Nate Roberts and Jaden Nickens on the other side, I mean, you're talking about two of your premier in-state commitments already, or not, well, commitment in Jaden Nickens' case, and obviously with Nate Roberts, somebody they're hoping to reel in. It feels like Oklahoma is starting to put more heat on Nate Roberts. They want him to know he's a priority for them. I think at times, and Eddie and I have talked to people down there, I think there was some question of they felt like, do they really want Nate Roberts, or is it just he's an in-state guy and they want to get him? But I think they're starting to feel like no, he's a priority. Now, what I will say, and I'll have some more in the scoop on this, but I had a chance to talk with a few people, some coaches that have worked with Seth Luttrell, both guys that had high school players recruited and some guys that have been on staffs with Seth Luttrell. And just kind of getting a feel for him as a recruiter, because I don't really know it. Like he's not a guy I'm as familiar with, and it sounds like he is a guy that is very skilled at relating. He can walk into the West Texas kid that lives out in the country and doesn't know anybody. I mean, he's from the Muskogee, so like he knows what that's like. At the same time, I have been told he is very comfortable walking into the Highland Park kids' living room and talking to those kids too. So he seems like one of the things, his real strength is just he's very relatable when he talks to both players and their families kind of during in-home visits and those things. So I would have guessed when you see these in-homes going on over the next few weeks, and I know he's already been by to see Zion Kearney and Devon Mitchell and some others. It sounds like he's made a pretty strong impression with some of these guys very quickly.
Zion Kearney has an elite high school football player's bedroom. I don't know if you guys saw the picture out there.
I did see that
with him,
night,
and I think it's Brent in his room. It's a very good one.
He and the thing that people and somebody commented on that post. Look how big Zion Kearney is. Look, guys, go look at that picture and look at him compared to Joe John Finley, who we know is a college and NFL tight end at 6'4 plus. Zion is a big dude, and people I don't think people appreciate how much potential Oklahoma has in him. He has got a chance to be a very, very good wide receiver, and I think is more physically impressive at the same age than Nick Anderson was. And we all know that family and how much they're in the weight room and that kind of stuff. And Zion doesn't have that muscle on him yet, but he is just big. He's just a big, strong guy that I think will fit very well in the SEC.
George, I don't think that Eric G deserves your
It's just a
quote tweet.
What happened?
It's just a shitty take.
It is, but
What
I mean,
is?
He's saying that he wants OU Texas to move to Jerry World because it's easier parking and there's air conditioning.
Who?
Eric G. Okay. Guys, I got to say, the YouTube stuff has been fantastic. We continue to go, and really the response. I mean, you guys watching, it is very important for you guys to subscribe to the channel. We want to keep building that more and more. And I know, everybody's wondering, well, why are you doing this? And you've got the website and premium info and all that stuff. We do want to eventually, the live streams, like we're going to do more and more of those, and we will start doing those just for subscribers as well. So, I mean, we do have plans. We're just, we spent the season building the thing. We still have more to build, and now that the season's over, I have more time to do that. But, it's just growing, and we appreciate you guys growing with us. It's growing really fast. And this week has been our biggest week that we've ever had on the YouTube channel as far as views and watch time and all that stuff. So any subscription that you can give, it's free. We're not charging anything for a YouTube subscription. Just go to look up youtube.com/Soonerscoop and just hit the subscribe button. And if you see a video you like, just give us a like. So all that really matters. By the way, deadsoxy.com, go check them out. Great partners of the site. As just great socks. I mean, we talk about it all the time, but you're probably tired of hearing us talk about it. Just go to the website, deadsoxy.com, and they've got lots of great deals going on still from Black Friday. But basically, we keep it going. It's you use that promo code Scoop. Yes, I'm sorry. Trailing a little bit. Sorry, I'm doing something here. Also, you got the unofficial 40 sale, but get 25% off any sock order, sale items, whatever, and use that promo code SCOOP, deadsoxy.com, no shows, boardroom, whatever. There's like pillows on your feet. It's just fantastic sock quality. And check out the little bag you can put your no-shows in when you wash those so you don't lose any of those little buggers. So deadsoxy.com, DEADSOXY, promo code SCOOP, and you'll get 25% off your entire order. And as always, stay soxy.
They got their money's worth for that one.
Struggled through that one. Wow. Yeah, not my best live read right there. So, anyway, we move on ahead. The portal has started, and we all kind of think there's going to be a few more names drop, right? That have
100%, 100%. I don't think though that it's going to be any names that you go, oh, that guy was going to be a real big contributor in 2024.
You saw kind of a cryptic tweet from JJ Hester the other day.
I expect Hester to go in. I expect LV Bunkley Shelton to go in. Blake Smith. I just don't think that you're going to look up and you're going to see and I'm literally just throwing names out there, a Kip Lewis or something like that. I really don't think that they're going to be hit dramatically hard by the portal.
Yeah.
I guess you saw the Gunnar Gundy transfer portal entry.
I think he should go to Tulsa.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Although Kevin Wilson loves Kirk Francis, who I think that we walked away from the 3A state championship game a year ago. That kid can fling it. I was surprised that he was never on scholarship anywhere else.
George retweeted Jackson Big 12. That's a great tweet. He quote tweeted his transfer portal. What is this from On3? Quote tweeted said, "Got tired of his head coach sleeping with his mom."
That's pretty good.
That was pretty good.
I do wish I could be a fly on the wall when Gunnar walks into his dad's room and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm transferring." Or be in the room when Mike Gundy called his son.
Maybe
and
his
said,
dad said, "Hey, you might want to look
portal
for something." Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good try. But it didn't work out.
It would be hilarious too if Mike comes out and like just repeats his speech of when like Spencer Sanders went in the portal. Didn't he like rip Spencer Sanders? Like if he just does that to his son, that would be hilarious.
Well, and guys, Mike Gundy's made it very clear: when you leave a relationship, it's over.
Yeah.
So is he going to speak to Gunnar anymore? I don't know how that's going to go. I really hope it doesn't divide the Gundy household.
Mike will say something pretty hilarious, I'm sure. Like something like, "Oh yeah, he's grounded for life."
Or he'll say something like, "We didn't want him anyways."
Yeah.
It is cool though. Like he grew up obviously in that atmosphere or whatever, and was able to kind of live the dream. And now he's going to go on and try to find somewhere that he can actually get onto the field.
Well, living the dream is getting benched by your dad.
I mean, playing for the university that he grew up around.
Yeah.
I'm sure that is something that is cool.
I thought he was good too. What game was it that Arizona State? He played well, yeah.
And also, as we've been doing the tweet, Jalen Conyers tweeted out down to 3.
Seen that. I don't know who the three would be, though.
Yeah, who would
know.
the three be, Josh, you think? If in
Just
your
based
mind?
off comments in the comment section, it would seem
lot
that
of OU
Texas
fans.
Tech's going after him quite a bit.
Been
Yeah,
surprised.
I mean that makes sense with him being from out in the area.
Sure.
So
Have you been surprised by the transfers out of Tech? Because it seems like they've had quite a few.
kinda, guys, are you continually surprised by the market for Tyler Shuck? Like,
Yes, absolutely.
Louisville, really?
Well,
I mean, like,
I don't
he's
know.
been okay, but-
Their quarterback is not good.
The plumber kid.
The plumber
he's
kid
gone.
is not good. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I might take Plummer over Shuck though.
I'm surprised in general just by the amount of quarterbacks, and I guess I shouldn't be, but it just seems like there are so many good quarterbacks out there, and that's why it makes it even more interesting for OU. I feel like they have to go get somebody. I told George and Carey the other day, I know he probably would never want to do it, but I think it would be worth saying, hey, Casey Thompson, we'll throw you $50,000 of NIL money. You want to come be a backup to Jackson? Like, OU needs a backup in some regard. Because if he gets hurt,
It'd
and
be
as
great
much
to
as
have one that had some experience.
right, and as much as they're going to run Jackson, I mean, it's kind of a scary situation. Now you can wait, and you can, like you said, George, you can go into the spring and try to find somebody if a situation isn't best for somebody and they want to get out after the spring bowl. But I don't know. It's even this Alamo Bowl, like the depth at quarterback. Jackson Arnold gets hurt, they're f***ed.
Well, they're just back.
If
to
they don't have
the
a guy
Texas
like
game.
that, to me, like if you're going to do some quarterback run, and like we know that the Seth Luttrell's that's not as required. Now he did some of that in North Carolina, so it's not like he won't do it if it's there. But it's not like in Levy's offense, the quarterback run is part of the plan. Like it just is. But what is interesting is if they don't have a guy that is ready to be the guy, the backup to Jackson Arnold next year, I wonder if they do put some stuff in for like Michael Hawkins, who truly is a dynamic runner, like really has, the ability to house something from 60 yards out. He is that kind of guy.
Yeah, I meant
So
to
I
talk
wonder
about
if they
that.
would build some stuff in for him.
I meant to talk about that because, he is really, his numbers last week were just amazing. He's a guy that's fallen so far under the radar, especially with Kevin Sperry moving to Oklahoma and being at Carl Albert and him being just omnipresent for people in the state. But Michael Hawkins has just quietly put himself in a position to be, like, heralded. For people to kind of salivate over him a little bit.
Guys, he's in the Texas State semis in 5A, and is doing it largely by himself. Just pulled up his stats. He has got a 72% completion percentage. He's thrown for 2,600 yards and has a 39-2 touchdown to interception ratio. And has rushed for another 800 yards. So
Did you call him the reverse
is-
Malachi Nelson, maybe?
yeah. Malachi. Eddie, have you talked to the family out there? You've cleaned everything up?
I would go back out for the tacos, but before what I'm about to say, I probably won't be invited back. It kind of sounds like he sucks. And God love him, but it does not sound like that's going well.
I got mad at him for saying that in the office out loud the other day because his family treated him to a nice taco dinner.
They were lovely people. I would go back out for a taco plate, but I don't think that that's necessarily working out the way that they thought it would.
No.
And just the comments that Riley even said about him, about like his physical.
To publicly say that? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not a good situation, but it doesn't break my heart.
That's how you chase a guy off. And maybe that's what Lincoln's
Maybe that's
trying to do.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about. I'm in a Twitter fight now.
With Eric G.
Yeah.
You want me to just
Love it.
You want me to just jump in?
I'm
and
going to
tell
tell
him
you
he's a
something.
nobody?
I'm going to tell you
Calls
something.
an old
No,
man.
that's the guy that said that I was out of touch with
Yes.
the fan base, right?
Yes.
That's alleged. That's alleged. I checked with Bill Hayes, and he said that didn't happen. But I'll say this. I'll tell you something one of my first bosses told me, and you should always remember this. And Josh knows this saying well. Always punch up. Don't punch down. You're punching down right now.
I like punching down.
I'll get 432 followers by this evening.
I'll say that, and I am big on that within any media. Like anybody like that's of a parallel world to us. If they're not bigger, I don't care. I don't pay them any attention.
Well, see, my boss told me that, but
I'm blue in the face.
My boss told me that, but I fail at that miserably.
Well, it's just like the people on the board that get mad at the dollar subscribers. It's like there's a part of you guys that just loves being trolled a little bit, I think, and I do the same thing. Like I love to jump in and ramble with them as well.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Brent Venables has lost this program troll.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, if people want to believe that, that's fine.
I did hit over 20K followers. I know it's not enough yet.
Congratulations.
But,
Congratulations.
I thought you'd be proud, Carey.
I am. I said 20K. You should get 20K by the end of the first season.
It's like 19,600 more than Eric G. He's a nobody.
So we have George fighting with him on Twitter and Eddie just eviscerating him on the pod.
Oh, I just think he's a loser.
What I say, George, I thought Carey's congratulations was really sincere. Not being there and not being able to see them. It was pretty clear Eddie's was not sincere.
No, that was a sincere congratulations. I'm proud of him.
No, he used his congratulations to take a shot at Eric G.
Me and Eddie are in, I think there's some people out there that think Eddie and I have like actual real beef, but they don't realize that we spend like our entire weekends together hanging out.
Yeah, we hung
and
out.
You spend the whole week hanging out in the conference room. Yeah. I mean, my God, just get an apartment together. Get it over with.
We do live down the street from each other, too.
We do indeed. We went out on Saturday, and George was getting recognized. It was a lot of fun.
I did.
There was a lot of YouTube subscribers. There
were at the Jones Assembly. Mm-hmm. It was like several people like, "Hey man, I love you on YouTube." And I told some guy, I was like, he like reached out and gave me a high five, and he's like, "Hey man, you're great." And I was just like, "Do I know you?" And he's like, "No, I watched the YouTube." I was like, I apologized to him. I was like, "This is just new to me. Like people just coming up and being."
I told you this was going to happen when you joined Sooner Scoop. I mean,
I know, but it's just still an adjustment. Like Eddie takes it really well. He's like, "Oh yeah, go Sooner Scoop or whatever." I'm still like, "Do I know you somehow?" And they're like, "No, I just watch you on YouTube."
Well, you got to make sure you thank them for watching.
The amount of people too that like watch us on YouTube and don't know what like Sooner Scoop is sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's why we do it. I mean, like people say, why do you do this? Because we want to reach an audience that we don't reach by just having a paywalled website.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of that. That's what the podcast started, and now that's what YouTube started. I mean, so, and other, we need to be more present on TikTok, and it wouldn't be, here's the thing. If we're present on TikTok, it wouldn't be anything about like recruiting probably. It'd just be us being weirdos or something. Like, I don't know that'll ever happen.
Well, we are weirdos, but
yeah, but no,
not like weirdos in terms of like having Josh Giddey rate 8th graders.
Okay, Jesus,
innocent, by the way, innocent. I stand with Josh.
It wasn't an 8th grader. It was at least a junior.
Did we stop
in
saying Josh? I don't like
Josh
this
Giddey.
at all. I'm against it.
I stand with him. He got set up.
Well, I mean, she was getting let into apparently
she went to a
bars and stuff in Norman.
She went to a bar.
Let's just move on to the next topic.
All right. Well,
you're not going to.
I'm sure that you guys have heard what's happening on the Gaza Strip right now.
Eddie is planning his insurrection of Mayor Holt's office, is what he's doing right now.
Hey, big vote next week, by the way. I know that there's probably a lot of Oklahoma City people, but we need to pass that arena and get that done on December 12th.
No, we have more people that listen from Oklahoma City than anywhere else. So
let's get out and vote. Get out and vote on December 12th.
Do you want to do a YouTube with the Oklahoma City people? The
mayor?
We could do the mayor, but
David.
People have been reaching out.
Panther,
people have been reaching out to me about coming on and talking about the vote.
Yeah, we could do that. That'd be more than fine. Needs to get done.
At least people would actually hear them on our outlet.
It needs to get done. We need to vote.
I hope it'll get done. I don't even live there, but I hope it gets done. Otherwise, I'll have to hear you guys and Curtis whine about it.
I'll be voting, and I never vote.
I mean, I think people would want to move out of the city.
Since the election was stolen, is what you said before, that you don't vote anymore?
Correct.
Thank God this isn't on YouTube. We get disbanded.
Now, reaction earlier, though, when you said I looked good in my shirt. But I wish we had that on YouTube. That was funny.
I'm going to go delete that immediately as soon as this is over.
No, you can't do that.
Josh is just like super red in the face right now. I've never seen your face so red. You're just a giant red ball of head right now.
I don't know. I think I look so much darker on your screen than I do on mine. Like because for those that don't know, when I'm talking to the guys, I am on the TV behind them that you guys see on YouTube that usually has a graphic or something on it. It's just me back there, and I look dark as hell compared to what I'm looking at on my own screen. So it's a strange little thing.
All right.
I
think anything else that we wanted to bring up? Embarrassing information or anything like that?
I don't think so. Obviously they're going to get back out onto the practice field this weekend, and hopefully we'll talk to them on Thursday. We will hear from Brent Venables as well as Jed Fish in an Alamo Bowl press conference that is in San Antonio, correct?
Yeah, yes. It's a charity golf event they'll be attending as part of the Alamo Bowl, so they'll speak to the media while they're there, and we'll be able to.
Which I wonder,
where are they playing at?
I don't know if you've heard anything about the Trey Moore kid from UTSA, but I do wonder if they're interested in him if Brent maybe makes a trip over while he's in San Antonio.
I would think they would have to almost.
You've got to talk to that kid. I mean, you've got to at least have the conversation. Because, I mean, and guys, at some point, eventually Jeff Traylor is going to end up somewhere else. So it doesn't seem like a hard pitch to say, hey, man, you can come play here and be a guy. We're set up. You can play in the SEC. You can answer any questions you have. But, I mean, I know some people think he is like a top 2 or 3 portal player. Like, they think he's unbelievably good.
All right, that's going to do it. We will, don't forget, Bob Przybylo will be back with Eddie on the Hoops Report that's going to be coming out Thursday. I believe we're taping that Thursday, right?
Yeah, we're going to tape it Thursday and release it either Thursday evening or Friday morning.
Okay.
Got the game coming up on Saturday in Tulsa, and hopefully OU fans show out, not just there on Saturday, but moving forward. I think this team is a lot of fun so far. I mean, their net rating's 15th in the country right now. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Porter
there's no
Moser's
one that
done
can...
an unbelievable job turning the roster over as well as staying positive through what has been a hellacious first 2 years in which I think that I called for his job basically every morning on the radio.
Yeah, there's no one that can say that this isn't a good product they're putting on the floor right now.
It's fantastic.
And I don't know how it's going to go. I mean, Big 12 is going to be rough. And I mean,
I think that they're...
Even the teams coming into the Big 12, like they're really good.
BYU's
Cincinnati's
number 1 in
undefeated.
net rating.
Yeah. BYU's up there. Cincinnati's up there.
Oh, shoot.
Houston, of course, with Kelvin's going to be great.
I can tell you, though, they're not going to finish 12th. They're picked 12th in the conference. They're not going to finish 12th.
I think that the realistic expectation right now should be, if at the beginning of the year it was to get to the NCAA tournament, I think still just winning a game in the NCAA tournament and giving yourself a chance to get to the second weekend would be fun. But, again, in the Big 12... if you can finish
top 7,
6th or 7th or 5th, maybe the high side 5th, you're probably a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. So it's going to be a fun kind of spring here moving forward as we kind of wrap up football.
We should get Kellen Sampson on soon.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
he'd definitely come on.
He's been here before.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, that's going to do it. We could sit here and wound about all day long. Wound about? Wow, I don't know what that was. Anyway, that's going to do it. We'll be back again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 Podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.